Have you ever looked at someone in their late 40s who just radiates this infectious, vibrant energy, and then looked at a 25-year-old who looks completely exhausted and dead inside? It makes you realize that aging isn't just about genetics, expensive skincare, or how many supplements you take. A massive part of it is entirely psychological. Some people stop collecting genuine experiences long before their bodies actually grow old. They get trapped in a loop where life shrinks down into just surviving, paying bills, and dealing with daily anxieties. Then, without warning, an entire decade vanishes, and they can barely remember any of it. It's a quiet, unsettling shift that a lot of us are dealing with right now. We get told to grow up, be responsible, and focus entirely on the grind, but nobody warns us about the cost of turning into a gray corporate zombie. If you feel like your years are suddenly accelerating and blending together into one long, forgettable blur, you are definitely not the only one experiencing this psychological freeze. Think about your morning commute or the way you scroll through your phone after a long day. You ever drive all the way to work and suddenly realize you don't even remember the drive? Your brain went completely on autopilot. That happens because human brains are incredibly efficient at saving energy. When nothing new happens, your mind stops laying down new memories. When every single day looks exactly like the one before, your brain essentially decides there's nothing worth recording. That's why time feels like it's flying. But let's be totally honest here. It is incredibly easy for self-improvement gurus to say stuff like, just go travel, take big risks, or live in the moment. In reality, feeling alive can feel like an absolute luxury when you're just trying to survive. When you're dealing with a crazy workload, an uncertain job market, or the heavy weight of family expectations, just getting through the week takes everything you've got. Sometimes, trying to force yourself to feel happy just adds another layer of guilt. You might even feel like it's illegal to actually enjoy yourself. You feel guilty the second you stop being productive because there is always something more important you should be doing. So you put on a mask, you smile, you make jokes, and you let everyone think you have it all completely together. But underneath that mask, you feel completely lost and cluttered. You start protecting your energy by pulling away from people, deleting your socials, and retreating into your own quiet shell. The mistake we make is defining what it means to feel alive way too narrowly. Being alive doesn't mean you have to be blissfully happy or excited 24/7. The truth is, struggling with your existential battles, feeling deep frustration, or trying to navigate severe anxiety means you are still actively participating in your life. You are feeling things deeply. The real danger isn't the struggle, it's the robot mode. It's when you completely check out and stop letting yourself feel anything at all. Think about how common it is to use endless scrolling as a way to numb the stress. You aren't actually relaxing, you're just putting your consciousness on standby. It's an easy trap to fall into because real life can hit you like a train out of nowhere. Hardships are inevitable, and no amount of positive thinking stops them from happening. But when we treat life as something we just have to endure until the weekend, we slowly train ourselves to become efficient, responsible, and incredibly tired. Society loves to reward us for becoming predictable and quiet. People call it maturity when you stop dreaming and just focus on the checklist of adulthood. But protecting your inner child isn't childish at all. It's a necessary strategy for long-term psychological survival. Nourishing your soul with things that have zero commercial value isn't a waste of time. Whether it's buying a cheap watercolor set, learning a weird skill, or listening to entirely new music, those moments give your brain a reason to wake up. There's this fascinating psychological concept that when we stop engaging with the world, our inner world begins to shrink. You don't look old because of your wrinkles. You look old because of your total lack of curiosity. Think of the older folks you know who still have a spark in their eyes. They aren't necessarily jumping out of airplanes. They are just people who refuse to stop learning. They still listen to new perspectives, read books that challenge them, and find things to look forward to next week. Now, Some people worry that chasing novelty will make their lives chaotic and unstable. They think they have to destroy their current routine to feel alive. But that's a massive misconception. Routine actually grounds us and keeps us sane in a world that often makes no sense. The goal isn't to live a completely chaotic life without structure. The goal is to make sure your routine serves as a launchpad for meaningful moments, rather than a prison cell that locks out everything unexpected. The secret to breaking this autopilot cycle doesn't require you to quit your job or book an expensive, spontaneous road trip. It's about chasing tiny moments of novelty right where you are. The moments that make us feel the most vibrant are almost always the least productive things on paper. It's a ridiculous late-night conversation that goes on way too long. It's laughing until your stomach hurts over something incredibly stupid. It's choosing a completely different route on your daily walk just to see a new view. When you introduce even a small amount of unpredictability into your week, you force your brain to step off the treadmill. You start creating physical anchors in time again. Suddenly, a month doesn't feel like a single, massive blink. You actually remember the days because you allowed yourself to be fully present in them. It takes a lot of courage to make suboptimal choices on paper just because they bring you a little bit of genuine joy. But that is exactly how you keep your internal energy young. Let yourself make choices that aren't perfectly optimized for your career or your bank account. If you spend every waking hour trying to prevent future disasters, you end up trading your youth for an illusion of safety. You become a chronic saver of money but a chronic wasteful spender of your actual life. The anxiety about the future is real, and the news doesn't help. But you have to ask yourself if your fear of failing is keeping you from doing the very things that make life worth living. Think of youth not as a specific number on your ID, but as your mental flexibility and your willingness to still get embarrassed. The people who age the best are the ones who are still willing to try things they suck at. They dance badly, they ask dumb questions, and they keep staying curious about the world around them. They realize that life is always going to be a messy string of hardships, and waiting for some perfect, stress-free future to finally start living is a losing game. It's completely okay to step back and realize that you've been running on empty for a while. If you look in the mirror and feel like a stranger is staring back at you, don't panic. That realization is actually the first step toward waking up. You don't need to completely rewire your entire personality overnight. You just need to stop allowing the weight of everyone else's expectations to dictate how much room you have to breathe. You are allowed to take up space just for yourself. You don't need a massive bank account to start reclaiming your time from the autopilot loop. You can start small by changing up what you cook for dinner tonight, or by leaving your apartment purely for fun instead of obligation. Allow yourself to be a little bit silly, even when you're feeling stressed out. Give yourself permission to step away from the constant pressure of always performing perfectly. Your life is happening right now in the messy middle, not at some distant finish line. Focus your energy exclusively on the things you can actually affect right now. Worrying about variables outside your control is the fastest way to drain your battery and age your spirit. When you focus on the immediate, tangible beauty of the present moment, aging stops feeling like an approaching threat and starts feeling like a natural, deeply meaningful journey. Your internal energy is entirely yours to protect, and nobody can take that away unless you give them permission. If you've been feeling like a ghost in your own life lately, take this as a gentle sign to step back into the world. You don't have to fix everything all at once. Just find one tiny way to break the routine today and show your brain that you're still here. If this spoke to you, drop a comment about one small thing you're going to change up this week to break your autopilot loop. Hit subscribe to stay along for the journey. And let's keep figuring this out together.